Hello, my fellow chatterers. It is part 3 of my bookshelf tour. And today we are starting with this one, the last shelf in the bedroom. I'm hoping it will just be 2 more videos after this, but we will see how we get on. So this shelf is the everything but fantasy, apart from these 2 Schwab books on the end, because I just didn't have anywhere else to put them. So one shot, no editing. Let's do this. Cheers. Okay, so like I said, I've got the 2 Schwab books because I've got nowhere else to put them. I've got 11 minutes, which I can't quite remember, but I do remember enjoying it. And it is by Paulo Coelho, who is best known for The Alchemist. Tells the story of Maria, who becomes a sex worker, and it kind of explores relationships and sexual fulfillment. And then we have Of Woman and Salt that I still really want to read. I did this one as part of my possibilities for taking on a spa. I just love the cover. Charity shop bargain. It was brilliant. Okay, now we've got a few thrillers. So we have The Lamplighters. It's kind of got a bit of a mystery to it. I'm hoping to get to this one soon because it does feel like a good one to read in the summer. And I really love this cover. It just looks so beautiful. And then it's Waterstones edition and has these fantastic edges. And then obviously we have the Millennium Trilogy with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, all by Stieg Larsson. I love that trilogy. I've only read it once. I really do want to reread it. Not something you usually say about thrillers, but it wasn't just the kind of aspect of the thrill. There was a lot of kind of mystery unraveling, and obviously Lisbeth is just an incredible character. Justice for Lisbeth. I then have Kate Atkinson's Life After Life, which I've heard really good things about. I understand it's got some sort of like time travel, kind of like Groundhog reliving the same situation again thing. But I don't know any more than that. And as always, I like to know as little as possible. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Howell Fry was an amazing book. I really loved it. It was my first Rachel Joyce. I've read another of hers that I really enjoyed as well. I just think her way of writing characters, getting you to care about them, and their slow journey was just so well done. It was a really good read. Let's Call It a Doomsday is a book that I do really want to get to and still haven't. It is a YA and looks at anxiety. We have a couple of books. I'm going to pick some from the back as well here. Hold on. So all 3 of these books are from the Shelterbox Book Club that I haven't got to yet. So I find it's very kind of hit or miss for me whether or not these stories work. I found The Wife's Tale that I read recently quite it didn't kind of gel with me. I found the genre difficult to kind of get into, and there had been another couple of books as well that I didn't, but then there are 2 that I really loved as well, like Sweet Bean Paste. So all 3 of these do sound like they are really interesting stories. It is a lot more I suppose you'd say literary fiction, and I don't usually read a lot of that, so it is more of a challenge for me, but I do really like the sound of all of them, so I will be picking them up at some point, but it's not ones that I naturally reach for, so I need to be in sort of the right mood for it. And 2 of them, these 2, had been living just up here because, as you can see, I've kind of run out of space to keep all my books. So we then have Queenie and The Girl with the Louding Voice, both of which I really am keen to get to. Queenie's a contemporary. The Girl with the Louding Voice, I think, is a contemporary. I think it's probably more classed as literary fiction. Yeah, it doesn't say that it's set in the past. I wasn't sure if it kind of had a bit of a generational telling to it, but I think I'm mixing up with a different one. So yeah, I think they're both contemporary. And I'm very excited to get to both of them, both of which have been recommended by my friend Sula, the giraffe. And I have also heard lots of people talking about how good they found both of these books. These are all Shelterbox Book Club picks again. Bernardine Evaristo's Mr. Loverman, I read and really enjoyed. I love Bernardine Evaristo's writing. I did prefer Girl, Woman, Other, but this one was really enjoyable with some great characters explored in that. Sweet Bean Paste, I've read really recently and loved. It was quite surprising how much I did love that book. It's very much, again, a character focused story rather than a plot based story. But it had lots of things to kind of think about that I hadn't considered before, which was really good. I have not read We Are Displaced. I am very keen to read it. It is a collection of different stories, like it says on here, from refugee girls around the world. And it is by Malada. That loopy writing didn't help. Malala Yousafzai. And Malala is the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. So in this book, she tells her story about feeling displaced, and it also tells the story of other refugee girls from around the world as well. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. But again, really need to be in the right mood for it because I feel it's going to be a very heavy read. The Last Letter from Your Lover by Jojo Moyes, I'm not sure about. I originally thought the premise sounded really interesting, and I'd not read any before, and one of the booktubers that I follow really enjoys all of her books, and I had similar taste to her, so I thought I'd really enjoy it as well. But I read a chapter, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be in that mood for these types of books anymore. Just this kind of contemporary, I think I've got so many other books that I want to read. I don't know if that one is going to be for me, so it may be on hold at some point, because I just feel that I'm probably not going to be reaching for it. It was, if you can tell, it's quite a battered one. It was a very cheapy World of Books ones that I got when I was doing some shopping on there before. Conjure Women by Afia Atokora, I am again really excited to read. It talks about it being similar to Beloved, which I really enjoyed. It was a very heavy read, but I'm very much kind of keen to read more books on this. I have a feeling this one, I have put it with the non-fantasy, but I feel it has got a bit of magical realism in it. So we will see. Oh, it's also compared to Homegoing as well, which is another book that I've got on my list that I want to get to at some point. And then we have City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. Again, I've heard really good things from a few booktubers about this book and how much they loved it and how much they loved the characters in here. So yes, we will see. This was a bargain. I really, there are lots of different covers for this, but this one was my favourite. I just love sort of like the drawing above the very big pink feather boa. And it's a hardback, which is very cool. Have we got any? Yeah, bright pink end pages and a red cover there. £3 on Worlds of Book. I love Worlds of Books. Here we go, and here's the back of this shelf. As you can see, we have got all my Georgette Heyer collection. I've also got Catherine by Anya Seton, which was part of the books that Mum was kind of getting rid of, and I remember I enjoyed that story when I was younger, so I couldn't quite let it go. I've then got some more historical fiction books here. Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom. This is the I can't remember, is it called The Last Kingdom series? It's Uhtred, son of Uhtred. There's a BBC, no, it's not BBC. There's a drama series of it anyway. I managed to watch the first 2 series and loved it, but then I think the 3rd series was picked up by a different channel, and I couldn't continue to watch it. But I really want to get to it. I have got the other one that I need to earn, and I think maybe next year I'm going to start working on this series. I also love these old-fashioned covers. The new ones are a lot more kind of like dark background and shiny armor, but I love the kind of the horizons on these ones much better, and these seems to be the ones that World of Books are giving you when you request them, so that works really well. Philippa Gregory, well known in the historical fiction work. I have read lots of books, but The Other Boleyn Girl was the only one that I felt I wanted to hold on to with possibility of rereading it again at some point. Tracy Chevalier, best known for The Girl with the Pearl Earring. This is Burning Bright, which I can't remember the time period, but it has got Tiger Tiger Burning Bright, the name of that poet. It says it should say it on here. William Blake. There we go. Yeah. So it's got an appearance of William Blake in here. It tells a family that have come to the city. There's a circus involved. And again, this is one that I do want to reread at some point as well. I remember enjoying it when I was younger, but I feel I'd enjoy it so much more now. Winston Graham, I have the first 2 books in the Poldark series. Again, I enjoyed the BBC drama, so I wanted to read the books. Haven't got round to it yet. So again, that's another one I'm hopefully going to start at some point. Memoirs of a Geisha, I really enjoyed and reread recently. The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul. I like the artwork on the front of this as well. I think it's really cool. Again, I really enjoyed this book, which tells the story of 5 different women, and was a lot of fun. We then have Leanne Moriarty, and again, I'm not sure. I've not read The Last Anniversary, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. I loved Big Little Lies. I did watch the TV series first and adored that, and then I was like, well, I want to read the book, and I equally loved the book. It's slightly different. It's got some different plot lines to the TV show, but generally it's the same. And I enjoyed the things the book did that the TV show didn't, and vice versa. So I really loved that one. So again, same booktuber that also liked Leanne Moriarty. I haven't heard people talking about any of Leanne Moriarty's other books the same way people talk about this one. So this might just be one that works for me, and I just don't feel that I'm wanting to pick up. I did originally want to pick up the rest of her books because I love this one, but I now don't necessarily think I'm in that place anymore. Again, this was another World of Books one. I do quite like the cover of this. I think that's really cool with the tree and the different objects on it. So I might do a try chapter again, or maybe try maybe 5 chapters to see how I feel about them before seeing if I'm ready to let go of them and pass them on to people who are going to enjoy them. The dancing, here we go. Let's make another space again. All right, The Dancing Face by Mike Phillips, and this is the most recent book that I've recently acquired. Mrs. Moore Goes Missing. Both of these are also from the Shelterbox Book Club. This is a thriller that I'm really keen to read. This is also a mystery thriller as well. And this pen name, Maela Sismikhauser, is a combination, or there's not a picture of them in here, maybe they're in the back. It's a combination of the 2 authors who wrote this book. It's based from some of their, I think it's their grandparents' names they've kind of put together to make it. Anyway, they are a married gay couple and they wrote this book. And it sounds really, really cool, as does this one. So both of these are thriller options for me, which I do want to read more of. So I'm hoping I will pick up one of them soon, and we'll see how we get on. And they are next to this thriller that I have read, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I really enjoyed this. I had no idea I had no idea of the twists in this one. I did not see them coming. I thought it was incredible how it turned on its head, how how do I put it into words? Just, I was expecting one thing, and then suddenly you realise something else was actually the truth and happening. And I just found it really powerful. I found it a really powerful look at certain themes that I don't want to say, because if you haven't read it, it's best to go into this book knowing absolutely nothing about it. It's a domestic thriller, but there is action within it. So I did not enjoy Gone Girl, but I did enjoy The Girl on the Train. I have a very old video pondering why that is, that when my laptop's working I might get out again. So both of those are, I think, called domestic thrillers, but whilst Gone Girl I don't think has a lot of sort of thrilling action, it's much more psychological. This one has got action scenes as well, which I enjoyed, but that wasn't the main part. I enjoyed the themes of it. Anyway, moving on. And then this pile here is my collection of non-fiction bits. The Little Book of Pride was a fabulous introduction into the history of Pride, what Pride is like today and why it's so important. It has fantastic metallic rainbow edges. I really enjoyed the layout of this book. So your first bit is red, your second chapter is orange, and so on and so forth. And it was really easy to take in. It's in lots of little chapters and little snippets, and highlights different things as well. So I found it a really enjoyable read. I got these little collection of essays in a one-off book box that I got. Conjure Women was the book that featured in that box. And so that was really cool because I really wanted to read some Audre, I think I called her Andre, I'm very sorry, Audre Lorde. I wanted to read some of her non-fiction work. I can't remember the name of it. No, I've had to think and still can't remember the name. It's on my notes, but they're on this phone. So if I look at them, this video stops. So we're not going to do that. But she has this book that I heard of where she talks more about casual racism and what's it called, like societal racism, like ingrained racism, and just kind of explores all of that. So it sounded really, really interesting, something that I think would very much be beneficial for me to read. And this is a collection of 5 of her essays. I did start reading it, but I wasn't in the right brain space. I was very, very tired, so it wasn't going in, but I will be getting to it at some point. Harriet Tubman, I read. This was a book that I got from my child's school because they were giving books away, and I wanted it. It's a children's non-fiction, so it's full of, the layout again is very easily digestible, and is just a very good rough introduction into Harriet Tubman's life. And I definitely do want to pick up more adult level books on that to give myself a deeper understanding. Renee Ado Lodge's Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race was amazing. I picked this up when there was an article. Someone shared an article on Facebook about it. And so she originally wrote this article that got a lot of feedback, and then this turned into a book about how exhausting it is for Black people to continually tell white people how they are feeling, but be then dismissed about it as though their experience isn't true and doesn't matter. So it was such a good read, such an important read. It was very engaging. I hadn't really read a lot of non-fiction before, but I found it really, because it was so relevant, because it was written so well, it was really, really easy to read. I highly recommend. The Guilty Feminist, again, another recommendation from my friend Sula the Giraffe. Haven't read it yet. On my list to do. I'm currently working on another non-fiction, but book readathons and read-alongs have kind of taken over my non-fiction reading at the moment, but I will at some point be getting to it. Galileo's Daughter, non-fiction about Galileo's daughter that I have not got to yet, that I do want to read. This one has got a special place for me because it is a memento from one of the priests from my parish. When he died, they put his book collection out for parishioners to take one of if they wanted to. And I thought this looked like an interesting book. So I have taken this one. And even if I don't like it, it's going to be one that I'm going to keep. French Children Don't Throw Food. I was lent this by my friend Sophie before I had my first child. And then Mum bought it for me. She didn't know I'd already read it, and she heard it on Sarah Cox's radio programme and thought it sounded good and just sent it to me. So it's basically about child rearing, but it is done in a sort of a fun and more interesting way, looking at the way different cultures approach child rearing. Rashika's Story was a really powerful book. This was sent to me by my friend Lydia, who went to the refuge. Is it called a refuge? Yes, a Kathmandu shelter for trafficked women. And my friend visited the area and bought me a copy of this book. And it is, one of those very moving kind of stories that does affect you. It's very hard hitting. So that is that one. Totally different note of non-fiction, Jane Austen's Guide to Dating. This was is a really fun one that I will dip in and out of. I really enjoy, it's kind of like a reflection on Jane Austen's work, so it is a lot of fun. It breaks it down. I can't find the chapter, but it breaks it down. It's got like 10 different sort of lessons that you can get from reading Jane Austen. Like, if you like someone, make it clear that you do. Don't put your feelings on public display. Cough, cough. Marry, unless they're fully reciprocated. Cough, cough. Marianne Dashwood. And it takes 3 different relationships, not just the main ones of the Jane Austen ones, but also side character ones as well, like Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, and talks about it kind of analyzes those relationships around one of those different messages. And then the author gives 3 do's and don'ts kind of stories of people that she has known in modern life. And then there's a fun, like, which Jane Austen character you most like, summaries of the books at the end, and sort of like some character summaries as well. So as a Jane Austen fan, I find this a lot of fun. I then have these 2 more picture book graphic novel types of non-fiction. So 101 Awesome Women Who Transformed Science and Gender, a Graphic Guide. Both of these, I love the layouts of both of them. I have not yet read 101 Awesome Women. I've just dipped in and read a little bit of it. Gender I have read from cover to cover and thought it was brilliant. So here we have some lovely illustrations accompanying the text. I always like it when they do like little quotes highlighted here. So it just kind of goes through what all these different women were in terms of like chemist, mathematicians, botanist, inventor. So all of these wonderful women in science. And I think it just looks like a really cool book. I'm probably going to do at some point where I maybe read like one a day. So I just work through the book by reading one different story each day. I think that would be lots of fun to do. Gender, I cannot do justice to trying to describe it. But it was a really interesting read, and I think one that I just need to keep reading. It gives you 4 different characters, and they kind of have their own different identities. And they kind of comment on some of the things they're talking about in terms of how it affects them, as well as going through when gender kind of first came into being and what kind of things we've given gender, how that's changed and where we are now. It was just a really fascinating read and really easy to read as well because of how it's laid out in a graphic novel version. But I couldn't give you a synopsis because I would be doing it an injustice and I'd be explaining it wrong. It's definitely a subject that I want to know more about, that I want to explore more, because it's so layered and there's so many different things to think about, from terms of what different societies see, what we've seen sort of in history, to how individual people's different stories. It is a really fascinating book and it was really well done. There are 2 other series in this format. Oh, they are on the back. So we've got Queer, a Graphic History, and Feminism, a Graphic Guide, and I do want to get both of those. And the final book on here is just a really fun little spoof. So it's a really silly book about pregnancy. So for example, it starts off by reasons for having a baby. You have too much spare time and money. You have a spare room that needs brightening up. And my favourite, you would like Mother's Day to be more me-focused. To things like this, where we have the classic, your baby is now this big. And here we have, at 9 weeks, your baby is the size of a large slowberry. And a handy thing to think of at this point in your pregnancy, toxic things are more harmful during pregnancy. So it may be best to avoid any of your more gossipy friends. Badum-ching.